Hi Scoots, I'm Inksy, and this fire-breathing demon pigeon is Blanche. And welcome back to my artwork rework series, where I redo my old artwork, but better. Ideally. No promises though. In this episode, I'll be reworking this piece, which won the YouTube community poll. I'm actually really excited about this one because the original is still one of my favorites. I won't spend too much fawning over it, but I've always loved how the jaguar and the hair turned out in this particular piece. Even now, I still think they hold up really well. So I didn't want to completely reinvent it, just elevate it and push the concept further within the scope of my current style. Since there's no landscape in the hair in the original to build from, I started with thumbnails to explore different compositions. And I really wanted to get this one right, so I did 4 options instead of my usual 3. And yeah, it's going to be more indecisive and annoying to try and choose between the 4 instead of 3, and yeah, I know that. Trust the process, even though I'm kind of screwing myself here in terms of my brain not being able to make decisions. For the first option, I have the jaguar walking out of the hair with trees and hanging vines filling the background. This to me feels more immersive, like the jungle exists inside of her hair, but the jaguar is stepping out into our space. And I really like that kind of concept. The second option has vines and mountains in the background and the jaguar sitting more in the foreground. I like the idea, but compositionally it felt a bit staged, like the jaguar was posing for a school photo or some shit. So for the third option, I tried something closer to the original concept with the jaguar next to her face instead of interacting with the hair. This time being a full body jaguar rather than just a head. And the landscape just being some trees, like maybe a forest or something. It's okay, but doesn't really feel strong composition wise. And then the fourth option has a jaguar lying on a branch that stretches across the foreground of the hair with the jungle forest view in the background from the branch's perspective. It feels quite cinematic and layered, like you're looking into a full lively scene rather than just a backdrop, and I quite like the idea of that. In the end, I was torn between the first and the fourth options, but I went with the first one because it feels more interactive since there's more movement and direction. And it connects the portrait and the animal naturally because it feels like one continuous world instead of 2 separate elements placed next to each other. With that decided, it's time for the color tests. I did 3 options. The first is a brown and orange color palette, which, makes sense, jaguar, jungle setting, but it ended up looking muddy, and the tones look a bit gross and drab, and nothing really stood out, so yeah, probably not. For the second option, I leaned more into yellows with some warm light orange tones. It looks cleaner and definitely better than the first, but also feels quite safe and not very memorable. And then for the third option, I did a pink and yellow color palette, which, to be honest, is not really the vibe I was initially going for. I was initially going for a warm orange vibe, even like maybe a brown color palette. Hence the first option that didn't actually end up going well. So this pink and yellow option I actually wasn't expecting to work, but it actually immediately stood out. I think the contrast feels way more interesting than the other 2 options, and the colors give this piece a warm feel to it, which is what I was going for. I just didn't think that this color palette would be the one to do it, So yeah, ironically, I'm gonna go with this one. Next up are the render tests. For the first lighting option, I did a more dynamic light source coming from the top left. I actually wanted it to feel like the light was coming from inside the hair, maybe like the sunlight filtering through the trees. Whereas with the second option, I had a more front-facing and evenly lit lighting setup. It looked fine, but compared to the dynamic one, it felt flatter. And since the composition already had movement with the jaguar stepping forward, the lighting kind of needed to support that, so the dynamic option wins. With that done, it's time for cleanup. The cleanup for this piece is super straightforward since I only used one liner color, which is this burgundy tone thingy, so I didn't need to separate anything or juggle any colors. And with the flats down, it's time for the render. Add some color to the face, lighting and shading, sun rays, pretty kitty, and done! I genuinely love this one. The pink and yellow combination makes it feel bold without being too overwhelming, and I'm really happy with how the jaguar turned out. As for the name, I decided to call this piece Jaguar Heart, which, kind of sounds like a movie title from the 80s, but I don't know, it just felt fitting for the energy of this piece, so yeah, I'm gonna go with it. And now let's mock it off onto a rework board. Let me know which piece I should do next, or if you have a completely new idea for a piece like this. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.